And a good evening, everybody, and welcome to Carving It Up Live right here on Facebook Live, YouTube, and Twitter. As always, I'm Bryson Carver. Fridays, y'all know, my favorite show of the week. And we got more to talk about than just football. I'm going to lead the show off with Dodgers, Giants, Game 5, win or go home. The Dodgers took it home 2-1. They're going to be going on the road for the first two games of the NLCS against an Atlanta Braves team that won like 18 less games than them, and still the Braves got home field advantage. Why? Well, the Braves were in, as my buddy Alfred called it yesterday, the NL Least, not the NL East. It's the worst division in all of baseball. But credit to the Braves for getting there, and credit to the Dodgers with a hard-fought series against the San Francisco Giants, which I'll start the show off in just a second. Also, Tom Brady did what he does, led the Buccaneers with a very strong running game, by the way, the best the Buccaneers have run all season long against the Philadelphia Eagles. I did say, though, they would not cover. The Bucs would not cover the spread, and ultimately they did not do that. I'll talk about that, as well as Zach Ertz. Speaking of an Eagles player who's no longer an Eagles player today, Zach Ertz got traded to the Arizona Cardinals. I'll talk about that. And after that, the staple of Friday shows during the football season, we're going to talk about NFL predictions for Sunday. Now, 4 teams are on their bye week. So we've actually got, what would it be, 13 games. You take away the 4 teams. You take away, we actually only got 10 games. Right? 10 games? 12 games. How many we got? There we go. We got 12 games. Yes, 12 games to predict for Sunday. So looking forward to doing that. But it's going to be a crazy show, y'all. So buckle up. Got some predictions with my upset of the week and my If I Were a Bettin Man segment, which you're not going to want to miss. Here we go. Let's start with Dodgers, Giants, Game 5, which went down to the wire. 2-1, Dodgers won the game. I said they would. I said they win the series in 4 games. It went the distance. Giants are my respect. I thought they were somewhat of a fraud regular season team, and people making the case that they are. They just took the world champs 5 games and down to the wire. Now, obviously, the game ended rather controversially. Here's the last pitch of the game.
And Flores, did he go? He did! And the game ends! A swinging strike 3. Gabe Morales rings him up. The game is over, and the Los Angeles Dodgers are headed to the National League Championship Series. To end the game, this...
Oh, man, boy, that's bad.
I don't think he went.
That's bad.
Can't end the game that way.
Like Brian Anderson, who called the game, as he said right there, you never want the game to end on a controversial call like that. There's no question that was clearly a check swing. Nobody's debating that. But I will say this, and I always say this anytime a bad call is made in a game, in defense of the officials, in this case, the umpire, the first base umpire. When it comes to, and I don't think, for the most part, you check the pulse of social media, and, social media is what it is. It's not like it, tells the story of the game, obviously. But you check social media, Giants fans are they're like, you know what, we scored 1 run. Our starting pitcher, Webb, he threw a gem. He was outstanding. He went 7 innings. Luke Webb, 7 innings, 4 hits, only 1 earned run. I mean, come on. You can't ask much more from a starter, especially in the postseason, going 7 innings. That was incredible on the part of Luke Webb. So, shout out to him. But for the most part, Giants fans, because, look, it is the Bay Area. I am a Warriors fan, so I am a fan of a Bay Area team. They're nice people. Like, they want to win. I mean, let's not get that twisted. They want to win. But they're like, you know what? That's the defending champs over there in LA. And what's I think is really ironic when I look at the teams that are left. When you look at the 4 teams, my Boston Red Sox, the LA Dodgers, the Atlanta Braves, and the Houston Astros. By the way, Red Sox-Astros game 1, first pitch is a little bit after 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific time, a couple hours from now. But what I think is really interesting, all 4 teams are in the top 10 in payroll. And baseball's not like football or basketball or even hockey. There's no salary cap. So the LA teams, the Boston teams, the New York teams, the Miami's, like, they have no excuse. Like, you're in the biggest markets in the country. you got to go out and pay players. You got to go out and get starting pitching. You got to get star infielders and outfielders. You got to do that in order to put yourself in contention. And what's interesting, and I feel like something that hasn't really been brought up today, is that both number one seeds in the American League and the National League, done. One and done. Rays went out rather unceremoniously against my Red Sox. Giants played much better against the Dodgers than the Rays did against the Red Sox, but at the end of the day, what was the difference? It was Cody Bellinger. It was Justin Turner, who struggled all game getting on base. It was Mookie Betts going 4 for 4 in the playoffs. That's unheard of, pretty much. So Mookie was outstanding. Was it what, 3 of the 4 hits given up by Webb was Mookie Betts? I mean, he was outstanding last night. And that's ultimately the difference. It's the difference in the Dodgers going out and getting Max Scherzer, who closed the game last night. We're like, why is Max Scherzer closing the game? And I'll get to that in just a second. But you go out and get Max Scherzer. You get Trey Turner. A couple of years ago, you make one of the best trades in baseball in years, going out and getting Mookie Betts and David Price to boot as well. This is what makes the Dodgers a first-class organization. Oh, the Giants aren't. The Giants are about as well-run an organization as baseball has. I mean, really, they're the second-best franchise in either league, American League or National League, in the 21st century. Red Sox are first. They won 4 World Series. Giants have won 3. There was a 5-year stretch where all 3 of those championships came in. 2010, 2012, 2014. This is a great organization. The only issue is I feel like they, at the trade deadline, look, it's easy to be, Monday morning quarterbacking, coulda, shoulda, woulda. If the Giants would have won last night, we wouldn't be saying this. But when you look at the trade deadline, the Dodgers, being the defending champs, knowing they're well on their way to win over 100 games, they went out and got star players. Superstars in the case of Max Scherzer, one of the greatest pitchers of the modern era. And so I also want to give a big shout out, a big round of applause, if you will, for Dave Roberts. Now, you know me. As a Red Sox fan, I'm always going to love Dave Roberts. He's always going to hold a special place in my heart and in the hearts of every Red Sox fan out there because of, what he did in 2004 to help us break the curse. But as a manager, I've been fairly critical of him. In many of the Dodgers' postseason losses, if you're talking about 2018 in the World Series against the Sox, if you're talking about especially, and I thought this was going to cost him his job, 2019 against the Washington Nationals, I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I think a lot of managers could win with this team, and I was wrong. Last night, similar to Alex Cora against the Rays, similar to other managers that we've seen in postseasons past, Dave Roberts put on a managerial clinic, especially when it came to his pitching staff. So 48 hours ago, we thought Julio Urias was a shoo-in. I mean, look, he won 16 games. Hey, he closed out the World Series last year as my man Alfred, y'all be sure to check him out, Metropolitan Report, as he pointed out on the show yesterday, that, hey, Julio Urias closed out the World Series against the Rays last year. And so, like, if there's anybody, you would want in the mound to, be him, right? But no, the Dodgers go with Knebel to start the game. Who's a bullpen guy. So it's like, oh, they're going with the bullpen game. But then after Knebel, they go to another reliever, and then they go to Julio Urias, and he goes 4 innings. Now, he gave up, obviously, the homer, which tied it at 1 in the 6th inning. But he gave them a long stretch, only gave up 1 run. And then a couple pitches later, you've got in a tie game, 1-1 in the bottom of the 8th inning, here comes Kenley Jansen, who's the closer. We're like, wait, why is the closer coming out in the 8th inning? Like, I can see maybe if the Dodgers were like up 3-1 and you bring out Jansen to maybe get a 6-out save. Like, you could see that, but you're like, are they going to Like, well, hold on. What are they doing? But Kenley Jansen does what Kenley Jansen's done all season. I think he's been great. Probably the best year of his career. Gives up nothing. And so you go to the ninth. Of course, Bellinger knocks in what wound up being the game-winning run in the top of the ninth inning. You go to the bottom of the ninth, and here comes Mad Max Scherzer. And you're like, okay. Dave Roberts was willing to throw all his chips out on the table. Because his strategy was, if the Dodgers can lead early, they did not do that, of course, but if they could lead early, you go through a couple of relievers, then we go to our starter in the third inning. And again, he only gives up one run. We go to our closer in the eighth. We go to our ace in the ninth. He wasn't going to let the Giants get anything. So shout out to Dave Roberts and what he's done with this ball club. This is, I mean, look, if we're being fair about it, I mean, the Padres just fired their manager. Look at the talent the Padres had, and they just collapsed at the second half of the season. They were terrible. So Dodgers going to the NLCS, but I think it's a good lesson for the Giants and especially the Tampa Bay Rays. 2 number 1 seeds gone out of the playoffs. That you got to spend money with the big boys, with the Red Sox, with the Dodgers, even the Braves, got some starting pitching, right? Even if they've had their injuries with Acuna and Ozuna being out, obviously, the remainder of the season. You got to spend money like the Houston Astros have in years past. I mean, listen, say what you want about Houston. They've cheated, no question about it, but they've spent money. I mean, these 4 organizations realize baseball can't tell us how much to, Rob Manfred, the commissioner, he can't tell us how much money to spend. There's no rule that tells us how much money we can spend. That's why I think there's no excuse for teams like the Yankees. The Yankees have spent money. They've just spent on the wrong things. They've got a pitcher in Garrett Cole who's in the playoffs. He's okay, not great. I mean, time and time again, they had an opportunity when they had the prospects to go crosstown to Queens, New York with the Mets and go and get Jacob deGrom. They didn't do it because the farm system, that's the same mentality the Rays have had. And listen, the Rays have had a great farm system. That Randy Arozarena kid, look out. That kid is going to be a superstar. Not a star. He is going to be one of the best players in all of baseball before it's all said and done. Franco, the kid who might win Rookie of the Year in the American League, he's on his way too. But he's 20. Arozarena, this is only his second postseason, even after he played last postseason, which was outstanding. The Rays weren't aggressive. The Giants, they got Chris Bryant. Outside of that, they weren't really aggressive. And by the way, Chris Bryant's a free agent. Like, you can't let him go. So I think it's a good lesson to everybody in baseball. Like, you got to be aggressive in free agency and at the trade deadline. You got to spend money. And if you're in a contending position, farm system is not going to help you win a World Series. That's been proven. So congrats to the Dodgers. Won a game last night. Again, yeah, you hate to see it end on a play like this, as we're showing right here. The check swing clearly did not go. It was a bad call by the first base ump, but certainly an insane game. And frankly, look, are we sure that if that's called a ball that the Giants win the game? And there was 2 outs with a runner on first, and the Giants had obviously struggled to get anybody on base. So that's where I'm at. All right, let's talk about the other game last night, the football game. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Philadelphia Eagles. I had Tampa Bay winning like everybody else, but the line was -7 Tampa, and I didn't think they'd cover for a multitude of reasons. Number one, their defense had struggled. Their secondary was decimated. And now it's even more decimated because Richard Sherman reportedly will be out multiple games with a hamstring injury. And if you watch the game, it was a non-contact injury, which is always bad. Not like devastating, not catastrophic, but he's going to be out a few weeks. So another devastating blow to the Bucs secondary. I said it because, look, Tom Brady, y'all know I think he's the greatest of all time. Obviously, I think he's the greatest athlete in team sports history. But it is a thumb injury. It is chilly in Philadelphia. I thought that would play factor. And in the second half, it did. But the good news for the Buccaneers, Leonard Fournette came to play, ran for 2 touchdowns and over 100 yards, by the way. Bucs O-line was outstanding. But I didn't think they'd cover. I had Tampa Bay winning by 5. They won by 6. So, look, there's not that much of a takeaway from the Buccaneers. I mean, Tom Brady played fairly well. Playoff Lenny looked like regular season Lenny, right? He played well, likewise. Antonio Brown slowly is starting to become one of is starting to maybe become the Bucs' number 1 receiver, arguably. I was talking with my buddy Grady Edwards, who comments frequently on this show. It's like, yeah, you know what? AB had a full offseason with Tom Brady, and we all know what he's capable of doing when he's out in the field. And now he's going to have a full season with the GOAT. And prime, you want to take prime AB over Mike Evans and Chris Godwin? I think you would. So I think he's slowly emerging as the Bucs' number 1 receiver. Defense, okay, kind of fell apart a little bit late. I thought my fantasy was going to get just wrecked because I have the Buccaneers defense, in my starting lineup. But that's all I really got from Tampa. For Philadelphia, on the other hand, Jalen Hurts, certainly in the second half, made some pretty good throws. Like he really did. He was moving out of pressure, making nice throws down the sideline. And on the other hand, he underthrew a lot of deep balls. Or either he underthrew them, or as Troy Aikman talked about multiple times during the broadcast on Fox, he's not got to have that quicker anticipation. Like the NFL, you got to throw dudes open. College, receivers come open. NFL, you have to throw them open. The windows are that tight, and you got to be perfect. You've got to be perfect to get the ball to the intended spot. And Jalen Hurts did that at times, and sometimes he didn't. And that's the mark of a backup quarterback. It's like I said yesterday about Jalen Hurts. I like him. He's a great, great kid. How he handled that situation in Alabama with Tua a few years ago spoke to his character. He's a great, great kid. And I see why his teammates love him. But as of right now, he's a backup. He's not a franchise quarterback. Let's keep in mind, y'all, he did go 12 for 26. That's an under 50% completion percentage. I know they made that rally late. Tampa Bay was not playing the Eagles at that point. They were playing the clock. Like the clock was the most important thing at that point for the Bucs, and that was what Philadelphia was going up against. Now, I'm not going to hold everything against Jalen Hurts. It's not a very good team in Philadelphia. I had them winning 4 games this season. They'll probably win about 5 or 6 at most. But there were receivers running open last night against a bad secondary. And sometimes Jalen Hurts capitalized, and others he did not. And as Bill Parcells said, in as far as developing a quarterback, rookie year, we're just trying to see him get better, improve in different spots. We're not expecting him to win a ton of games. Your Dak Prescott's and your Ben Roethlisberger's winning, 13 games right off the bat. That's not realistic for 99% of the quarterbacks coming into the NFL. But Coach Parcells said, year 2, okay, I need to start seeing some real improvement that we can really put our finger on and say, okay, he might be our guy. If you still ain't got it by year 3, we cut bait. And I think, listen, Jay Glazer of Fox Sports has reported it all throughout the early part of the season. Eagles are still interested in Deshaun Watson. Now, again, what's going to be the legal situation by next season? We have no idea. Again, as I've repeated multiple times in this show, I am no legal expert, not even going to pretend to be. I am no lawyer. I am going to rely on the lawyers that have come on the shows that I watch and listen to, sports-wise, obviously. And they've all said this is not going to be something that's going to be completed by the end of 2020. This is going to be something that's going to carry into next year, if it's even resolved. So I'm going to rely on what they're saying. So who knows if the Eagles go out and get Deshaun Watson. They certainly have the assets to go get him. They've got the draft picks. As it stands, they got 3 first-rounders. You think the Texans, who are rebuilding, wouldn't take that? So I think the Eagles got to go look for another quarterback. I really like Jalen Hurts. He's a backup. He is. Under 50% completion percentage. He missed some throws. The anticipation wasn't great. I mean, be honest, has Jalen Hurts popped out on the screen for more than 2 plays? Not really. Not saying he's got to be flashy. He's not saying he's got to be Lamar Jackson, but there's certain throws you have to be able to make if you want to be a starting quarterback in the NFL, and he sometimes makes those throws, and other times he doesn't, which is the very definition of a backup quarterback. So that's where I'm at on Jalen Hurts. I like the kid, but Philadelphia's got to go look for a new guy. But we'll see. Tampa Bay, thankfully for them, they have 10 days off, and they're going to need every single one of those. They need Tom Brady's thumb to get healthy. They need that defense. That secondary really needs time off. They need about 100 days to get back healthy because, man, it is bad over there. But before I get into my predictions, let me talk about a trade that came down not too long ago, reported by Adam Schefter, involving the Philadelphia Eagles, ironically. According to Adam Schefter, the Philadelphia Eagles are sending 3-time Pro Bowl tight end Zach Ertz to the Arizona Cardinals in exchange for cornerback Tay Gowan and a 2022 fifth-round pick. So we had heard for about, well, really since the start of the offseason, the Eagles were looking to move Zach Ertz, right? Give him, because of what he did for the franchise, they get assets for him because they're rebuilding, and he gets to go to, a winning organization, which the Cardinals are right now. They matter of fact, they haven't lost this season. So my reaction to this is good for Zach Ertz, because now he's going to a team where you get consistent play out of the quarterback position. Zach Ertz won great year, 2018. He had over 100 catches and over 1,000 yards, and he was outstanding. The following year with Carson Wentz throwing interceptions and fumbling like crazy, Zach almost had 1,000 yards. If he would have played the last game of the season, had he been healthy, he might have gotten to 1,000 yards. He's a great blocker. We saw that last night. He's a good red zone target. We saw that as well last night. So he'll be a really good addition to this Cardinals, skill position group, which is really good. I mean, you got DeAndre Hopkins, who in my view is the best receiver in football. You add to it, obviously, A.J. Green, who's played well. You've got guys like Christian Kirk, who's a good slot receiver, and now you add Zach Ertz to the mix for Kyler Murray. I mean, that's a match made in heaven. For the Eagles, it's an extra draft pick. Maybe you could use that in a trade for a quarterback in the future. You get a corner, which they need. So all in all, I think it's a fairly good trade for both sides. I think both sides got about what they wanted. Cardinals wanted another skill position player for their star quarterback, who's emerging into a superstar, Kyler Murray, and a good blocker, by the way. And the Eagles wanted assets. So I think both sides won this deal. I don't think, either side, fleeced the other, like we've seen, sometimes in trades in the past. But I think it's a good deal for both sides. What's real interesting for, the Cardinals is when they look at their division right now, and look, we religiously call the NFC West, it's the best division in football. And I had all 4 teams getting in the playoffs, by the way. When you look at it right now, I know we're 5 games in. Boy, it sure looks like a 2-team race right now. That's what it looks like. Rams, Cardinals, because both Seattle and San Francisco have instability at the quarterback position. Now, how long have we said that about Seattle? And it's not because Russell Wilson isn't playing well. It's because he's hurt. He's going to be out a minimum of 4 weeks, and now you got Geno Smith in there. So, I mean, Geno may win 1 or 2 games, but that's going to really hurt them in the standings, and they're certainly not contending for the division. As for the 49ers, they're on their bye week this week, but once they come back, you go to Jimmy. Can Jimmy stay healthy for 5 seconds? If you don't, you go to Trey Lance, who I think is going to be a great NFL quarterback, but he's not quite ready. He's still kind of a kid at this point. Like there's some instability at the quarterback position in San Francisco. So it's Rams or Cardinals. And what the Cardinals are doing, what did we just talk about with Major League Baseball? You got to be aggressive. That's what the Cardinals did. They went out and got a guy who at one point made 3 straight Pro Bowls, a guy who's shown to be a good postseason player. He was obviously huge for that Eagles team, caught the game-winning touchdown against the Patriots in Super Bowl 52 from Nick Foles. So he's played with average to below average quarterbacks in his career. And now he gets Kyler Murray. That's good news for Zach Ertz. As for the Eagles, they get trade assets. So both sides win the deal, I think. I think that is possible. Both sides can win the deal. All right, here we go. This is the fun part of Friday's shows, NFL predictions for Sunday's games. I'm 1-0 this week. If I can go ahead and pull up my record thus far going into week 5, or week 6, excuse me. In week 5, I went 13-3. I had a terrible week 4, 8-8, but rebounded from that, went 13-3. And as far as my overall record coming into Thursday night's game, I'm 54-26. So slow build to, continue to improve my overall record and try and beat last year's, which was okay, not great. There are some games this week. There are some lines this week that we're going to talk about. I don't know what to do with them. There's some like, man, that's the line. And others where I'm like, geez, I don't know. So there's some tough games to predict, and thankfully for all of us football fans, we get it bright and early in the morning in London between the Miami Dolphins and the Jacksonville Jaguars. That is where we will start. Tua Tagovailoa will play back from injury. As of right now, the line is Dolphins -3, which says a lot about Miami because Jacksonville's 0-5. They've lost 20 straight games. The last time the Jacksonville Jaguars won a game was September the 13th of last year. Now, Jacksonville historically plays pretty well in London. They play in London every year, obviously outside of last year with the pandemic. But that says a lot about Miami. Like, they have a good roster. Now, Devontae Parker, good receivers out. Xavier Howard, who's a good corner. He's trying to force his way out of Miami. He's out. So that could open up some spots in the passing game for Trevor Lawrence. But I think this is a fairly close game. I don't think Miami covers, but I will take them to win this game 27-24. Listen, for my criticisms of Urban Meyer, which are many, certainly dating back to that controversy, which wasn't even the most, wasn't even the worst coach controversy in a week, obviously with John Gruden. I'll say about Urban Meyer, the Jaguars look better every week. I mean, if you take out last week against Tennessee, I think a lot of that had to do with the Urban situation. But if you look at weeks 1 through 4, you see a steady improvement. Hey, week 3, they led the Arizona Cardinals at halftime. The Cardinals, who are undefeated, 5-0. Last undefeated team left. Jaguars led them at halftime. And we view the Jaguars as the worst team in the league, so they're continuing to improve. But I think Tua leads the Dolphins to victory. I don't know if he plays that well. That Dolphins offensive line really needs work. But I got the Dolphins winning this game 27-24 and winning their first game since week 1. Let's go to the next game. You got a division rivalry. The Green Bay Packers, the Chicago Bears, the oldest rivalry in the NFL. The Packers in this game on the road are favored -6. If you look at the Packers historically, at least in recent history, they have owned the Bears. 9-1 in their last 10 against Chicago. They actually asked Aaron Rodgers in his presser the other day about, I think, since the Bears last went to the Super Bowl, which was 15 years ago when they lost to Peyton Manning's Colts. They asked Aaron Rodgers to name all the starting quarterbacks that the Bears have put out since then, and he did that. So first of all, it speaks to Aaron's memory, and secondly, it goes to show you they're trying desperately to find their franchise quarterback. I think they have him in the building right now, Justin Fields, of course, who will start, as Matt Nagy said, for the rest of the season. Thank God. He should have done that for the beginning. But you look at Green Bay's roster, obviously Jair Alexander is out for a while. That is going to hurt them. But name the most impressive win by the Bears this season. Name it. I mean, Cincinnati, okay, maybe. Raiders coming off the Gruden scandal. You've got, who was the other team they beat? Detroit. I mean, it's not like they're exactly beating great teams. So with that said, I'm going to take the Green Bay Packers to cover and win this game 28-17. I think Justin Fields, who has turned the ball over a little bit, will do so on Sunday against Green Bay's defense, which is middle of the pack per usual. Get it? Middle of the pack. Get it? A little wordplay with the Packers. Hope y'all caught that. Anyways, again, Packers have won 9 out of 10. Aaron Rodgers is starting to look more and more like Aaron Rodgers, and Devontae Adams just tearing up the NFL right now. So with that said, Packers win this game 28-17 and cover the 6-point spread. Next game here, this is a real interesting one. You got the Cincinnati Bengals hosting the Detroit Lions. Detroit is winless. Cincinnati is a surprising 3-2. Cincinnati on the road, 3.5-point favorites. Now, I've read up all week about Joe Burrow. He took that hit on Sunday against the Packers where it damaged his voice box, I think, a little bit. It said there was like a throat contusion, which I can't imagine how bad that hurt. And according to Zach Taylor, they've limited how much he can actually speak. And so that's not good. Not like Detroit's like, Arrowhead Stadium or Seattle loud, but, it is a road environment. Fans are back in the stands, thankfully. And so it's kind of a crappy set of circumstances, for the Bengals, going into, a game against Detroit. That game, I believe, is that in Cincinnati or in Michigan? I'm trying to check that right now. That game, Lions-Bengals, is in Detroit. Yes. So when I step back and look at it, I'm like, okay, so Burrow's going to have to go the silent count the entire game. I mean, if they're limiting how much he could speak, will his voice be better by them? I mean, man, when's the last time we talked about a guy's voice going into a game? That's, goes to show you how crazy injuries can be sometimes and how many hits Joe Burrow has taken since he came in the NFL. Some have been his fault. Some have been that garbage offensive line that the Cincinnati Bengals have put, in front to try to protect him. So with that said, I'm going to take the Bengals to win this game, keep the Lions winless at 0-6, and win 27-21. To Detroit's credit, they played some teams close. It took a 66-yard record field goal by Justin Tucker, the greatest kicker of all time, to beat them at home. And it took another game-winning field goal last week on the road in Minnesota, where they lost once again. Detroit's looking for their first win, but look, Jared Goff is now 0-12 without Sean McVay. I believe after the game, he will be 0 and unlucky number 13. Bengals win this game over a lesser team and go to 4-2, keeping pace with the Ravens in the division, 27-21. Let's go to another division rivalry. Actually, a classmate of mine is going to this game. Houston Texans, Indianapolis Colts. It's a mismatch. Here's what I like about Indianapolis is they are favored -10 at home. So Vegas absolutely loves Indianapolis, and they should. Carson Wentz is coming off his best game in 2 years. I mean, if you'd have told the Colts Carson Wentz was going to play the way he did, he had a passer rating of like 128.5 or something, like I talked about in yesterday's show. You're like, oh, we're going to beat Baltimore. But Lamar Jackson was just put on a show in the second half and overtime, and the Ravens won. So the Colts going into this game like, okay, we got to keep pace with Tennessee. The Texans, on the other hand, sure, they played the New England Patriots close. Not like that's saying a ton, even though the Patriots are a better football team. But going into Indianapolis, it's a bad defense. Davis Mills is good, not quite ready to lead a bad franchise to the playoffs, certainly, or even beyond that. It's kind of crazy that these teams had the same record, Texans and Colts, because I think the roster difference is not even comparable. So with that said, I'm going to take the Colts to win this game by a weird score because it's a division rivalry. Why not put this score out? 34-18. Colts cover the spread -10. They win by 16. Win this game 34-18 and keep pace with the Titans in the AFC South. Let's go to one that's really been talked about as one that will just possibly be just an absolute bloodbath. You got the Los Angeles Rams going on the road to the New York Giants. Now, the Giants are absolutely decimated by injuries. The good news, Daniel Jones will be back on Sunday. The Giants medical staff have cleared him after that really scary-looking concussion against Dallas on Sunday where he kind of stumbled off the field before a cart took him back to the locker room for concussion protocol. By all indications, Daniel Jones has been cleared. He will play on Sunday and not long neck Mike Glennon. Saquon Barkley's out multiple weeks. He can't catch an injury break. What I think is interesting about this game, though, and this is always a factor, it's a West Coast team in the Rams going all the way to East Rutherford, New Jersey. The line for this game is Rams -9.5, so Vegas loves the Rams. I do think they cover the spread, but I don't think it's going to be like a 45-0 blowout like some people out there think, some people in LA think. With that said, I'll take the Rams to cover the spread, not by that much, but they'll cover the spread on the East Coast in basically a 10 o'clock a.m. kickoff LA time, 31-20. Rams win 31-20 over the Giants. Again, New York is absolutely decimated by injuries. I thought they would possibly finish second to Dallas in the NFC East. They may, but this is not a playoff team. The Rams have big Super Bowl aspirations. Rams win this game easily. All right, this is one that I've really been looking forward to talk about. You got the Kansas City Chiefs on the road against the Washington football team. Now, Kansas City, as I talked about on Monday's show, I said they're not a good team right now. They're an average team. I mean, they're 2-3. Like, let's be honest, Kansas City, you're an average football team right now. Your quarterback, who's all world, unbelievable. He's third in the NFL in turnovers by quarterbacks. The only two guys that have more turnovers than Patrick Mahomes this season are Zach Wilson and Trevor Lawrence, rookies. So he's got to clean up the turnovers. Kansas City's defense cannot stop anything or anybody. In every game this season, they've given up at least 29 points. In 4 of their 5 games this season, they've given up over 30. So the game they didn't give up 30, they gave up 1 point less, 29. Congratulations. We ought to, give them a Super Bowl ring for that. They're going on the road to Washington, a defense that just completely is not even close to what it was last year. Washington's defense was second in the league last year. They're in the bottom 5 in most categories this year. So I think Taylor Heineke keeps it close. I look at the spread right now. Kansas City is favored minus 6.5. Let me go and put the score up. Kansas City wins, but they barely cover the spread. I got them winning 38-31. Why can't Washington put up 31 in Kansas City's defense? Why not? Everybody else, Baker Mayfield put up 29. You look at Chargers putting up 30 plus. I think they scored 31 if I'm not mistaken. Ravens put up 36. Philadelphia put up 30. If Philadelphia can put up 30, why can't Washington with the skill players they have? Antonio Gibson, Terry McLaurin, most underrated receiver in football, and Taylor Heineke, who reminds me a little bit of Tony Romo. Not saying I'm not going to put those expectations on him. Some have put the Kurt Warner label on him. I think that's entirely unfair to Taylor Heineke. But I think it's a situation where, look, Kansas City can't stop a nosebleed. And so I think Washington is going to play them down to the wire. But Kansas City is a better football team than Washington. That doesn't make them good, makes them average. Washington's below average. Thus, Kansas City wins the game and goes to 500, 3-3. 38-31 will be the final score of that game. They barely cover the spread. All right, it is now time for the upset of the week. Upset of the week is a game between 2 NFC teams, 2 teams that have made the NFC Championship game the last 5 to 6 years. Don't know why I brought that up, but I did because it's true. You've got the Minnesota Vikings going on the road to the Carolina Panthers. Carolina's lost 2 straight. Started 3-0 against 3 bad teams, and they lost to my Cowboys. And then they had a kind of an ugly loss against a lesser team in Philadelphia. Philadelphia went to Charlotte and beat the Panthers in the final minutes of the fourth quarter. So look, this may be my last time believing in the Panthers as a possible playoff threat. I'm going to go down with the ship. The line for this game is Vikings minus 2.5 on the road. Not only do the Vikings not cover, I got the Carolina Panthers winning this game 24-20. It's close. It's low scoring. Carolina's offense has struggled. Christian McCaffrey right now is about 50-50 whether he'll play or not. So we'll have to see about that. But Sam Darnold gets it done in the fourth quarter. Kirk Cousins against this Panthers defense struggles. Kirk isn't a mobile guy. So I think that plays factor. I will take the Panthers to get my upset of the week, 24-20. Let's move on now to the best game of the week. There's no question, and it's a darn shame that it's in the 1 o'clock window. I feel like I'm going to be watching, but I feel like so many people around the country are getting cheated out of this game. Los Angeles Chargers, Baltimore Ravens, 2 4-1 teams, 2 quarterbacks playing outstanding right now. Lamar Jackson talked about Justin Herbert the other day, talking about he's playing out of his mind, and he is. Both guys are just playing exceptional football. Both guys are in the MVP discussion. And both teams, frankly, are contenders. Chargers have shown us that, and the Ravens have showed us that. As of right now, the line for this game is Ravens minus 2.5. I thought about making this my If I Were a Bettin Man segment because, look, the Chargers defense has really struggled against the run, albeit they played Cleveland last week. Cleveland's the best rushing team in football. And now you got to go to Baltimore. We talked about the Rams. The Rams will cover the spread against the Giants. East Coast game for a West Coast team, right? Well, you've got the other LA team, the Chargers, who are also coming to the East Coast to play the Ravens. And after getting gashed by the Browns last week, you get a nice break. Try stop Lamar Jackson. And so with that said, I'm going to take the Ravens to win this game on a game-winning field goal by Justin Tucker, 32-29. I think it is the best game of the week. I think it is the most entertaining game of the week. I think both quarterbacks will play fantastic, but I will take the Ravens to win 32-29 because while Justin Herbert is balling right now, I think Lamar Jackson is playing at a slightly higher level. That doesn't mean I don't like Justin Herbert. I think he is. I thought he was the best quarterback coming out in 2020 over Tua and over Joe Burrow. But Lamar Jackson, man, is doing things we have never seen anybody do in this league. With that said, I've got the Ravens winning 32-29. Let's go to probably the second best game of the weekend. Speaking of the Cleveland Browns, they're going to be hosting the Arizona Cardinals, the undefeated Cardinals, this weekend. Now, look at this game right now. You're talking about a Browns team that just lost to the Chargers. Let's be honest. What's the Browns' signature win? Really, when you look at it, what's the Browns' signature win? They beat the Texans, and who else they beat? They beat was it the Steelers? No, it wasn't the Steelers. Cleveland beat obviously the Texans, who had Tyrod Taylor and Davis Mills. They also beat the Bears and Justin Fields' first start, the Vikings, and what was an ugly performance by Baker. It was a great performance by the defense, but Baker played horribly, and Odell was a non-factor. I think they need to probably trade him to get him to a veteran quarterback. You're talking about weather in Cleveland, which can be a problem. Winds are going to be about 20 miles an hour, which advantage Browns, right? They run the football better than anybody in the National Football League. But Arizona Cardinals have this guy named Kyler Murray. Now, while DeAndre Hopkins and A.J. Green may not be as much of a factor, James Conner's played pretty well. He looks like early 2018 Steelers James Conner. He's played well. The running game for the Cardinals has been good. I feel like Kyler is more capable of making plays than Baker Mayfield is. And so with that said, by the way, the line is minus 3.5 Browns. I'm going to take the Arizona Cardinals to win this game 30-26. I think Baker Mayfield plays fairly well. I think the running game is good for the Browns. But when I look at it, I'm like, man, how do I reconcile the fact that Baker Mayfield is playing with a torn labrum? The wins are going to be what they are. And unlike Kyler Murray, Baker Mayfield isn't that mobile. And so I think that's going to be the difference of the game. Cardinals win this game 30-26. Now, it is time for...
Would I a betting man?
If I were a betting man, I'm looking at the Las Vegas Raiders and the Denver Broncos. I'm looking at a Vegas Raiders team that started 3-0, has lost 2 straight, and has absolutely hit their low point in the season. Probably the low point in the NFL season as a whole, hopefully. They lost their coach. He resigned. And obviously a horrible situation with the disgusting emails with Derek Carr having to defend him and other Raiders players. And you have Mike Mayock, who's having to make statements for the owner, who I ripped yesterday, called him a coward. I mean, if you're the owner of the team, you can't make one statement on John Gruden rather than, I accept his resignation. Come on. So going into Denver, division rival, listen, Broncos have lost 2 straight. Broncos' focus is on beating a mentally, and you could say spiritually wounded Raiders team. So I've got the Broncos winning this game. The spread, by the way, is Broncos minus 4.5. I think they absolutely cover. They win by 2 touchdowns, 28-14. Remember, Vic Fangio's in the hot seat. I was never a fan of Vic Fangio as a head coach. I think he's a great defensive coordinator. But as a head coach, I don't think he works in Denver. And so, going into a game against division rivals, starting 3-0, you can't follow that up with 3 straight L's. Like, Denver cannot lose this game and Vic Fangio feel like he's in good job security. So I think they will come out with a greater intensity than the Raiders will, and Denver wins 28-14. Let's go to my Dallas Cowboys taking on the New England Patriots. Little known fact, Dallas has never beaten Bill Belichick. They've also never beaten Tom Brady, and that's probably the biggest reason they've never beaten Bill Belichick. So when I look at this game, the line, by the way, is Cowboys -3. That's actually being brought down a little bit. Some betting websites have it at -2.5, which to me is mind-boggling. Unlike the last time the Cowboys played the Patriots in Foxborough just 2 years ago, the weather is going to be a non-factor. I mean, last time, if y'all remember, it was like 30-something degrees. Wind chill was about 29 degrees. It was driving winds, rain. I mean, the conditions were just miserable. And the final score indicated that the conditions were miserable. The Patriots won that game 13-9. There wasn't a whole lot of offense. And so when you look at this one, the temperatures will be about mid-50s, mid to upper 50s for the majority of the football game. And so, listen, this is a Cowboy team that offensively can do whatever they want. If you want to stop the run game, okay, Dak's going to hit you with CeeDee Lamb or Amari Cooper or even Cedric Wilson, who I've always liked. He's the best. Once Michael Gallup comes back, Cedric Wilson's the best number 4 receiver in all football. No question about it. If you want to limit Dak, if you want to give these receivers problems, great. He'll just hand it off to Zeke or Tony Pollard, and they'll do their thing because the offensive line is playing outstanding. Now, on that offensive line, something that is important, Tyron Smith is questionable right now. And on the left side of that offensive line, obviously left tackle is one of the most important positions on your team to begin with because it's the quarterback's blind side. Not only would you lose Tyron Smith, that just gives Matthew Judon, who's the Patriots' best defensive player, that much more freedom to go do his thing. Because Matthew Judon has by far been the Patriots' best free agent signing. I mean, Kendrick Bourne and that tight end, they got Jonnu Smith from Tennessee, and you got Hunter Henry, and this was by far their best free agent signing. Jonnu Smith has been, Matthew Judon has been a home run free agent signing, a rare home run free agent signing for Bill Belichick, and he's played outstanding for the Patriots. I think Trayvon Diggs is going to get another interception off another Alabama quarterback. He picked off Jalen Hurts and took it to the house, by the way, in week 3 against the Philadelphia Eagles. I think he's going to pick one, maybe not go to the house, but get his 7th interception, 6 games. He's on a roll right now, and I think Dallas covered the spread easily, and they win this game 31-17. Again, y'all know how I feel about Mac Jones. He's not a franchise quarterback. Is he a starter? Maybe. I mean, listen, what has he shown you this year that you're like, yeah, that kid can take the Patriots to the Super Bowl in the future? There's nothing. Decision-making has been poor at times. Certainly it was last week for majority of the game against a terrible Houston Texans defense. He's immobile. I mean, against the Buccaneers in week 4, a Tampa team that does not get to the quarterback got to him 5 times. And he's got a good offensive line. What does that mean? He's holding the ball too long. When the play breaks down, he can't do anything. Randy Gregory, Micah Parsons, these dudes are going to have a field day against Mac Jones. And my Cowboys will go to 5-1 going into the bye week and win this game 31-17 in Foxborough, Massachusetts. Let's go finally, last game, the Sunday night game, which, it's an okay Sunday night game. It's a couple of 2-3 teams. The Seattle Seahawks, who have not only an awful defense, but now the best player in the history of their franchise, Russell Wilson, is out multiple weeks. So it's Geno Smith. And they go to Pittsburgh to play the Steelers, who, yeah, they won last week against Denver. But Big Ben, the large portion of this year and last year is done. I mean, he's an absolute wash. By the way, Juju Smith-Schuster, unfortunately out for the year with a shoulder injury. And we wish him the best in recovery, obviously. The line for this game is Steelers -5. I think that is one to bet down. Because Seattle, remember, Geno Smith came in, and Seattle actually had a chance to win the game against the Rams last week on that Thursday night game at home. Like, the Rams couldn't put Seattle away. Now, was that a Rams issue, or was that just Geno Smith played well in relief of Russell Wilson? I think, Pittsburgh, they have film on Geno Smith, but maybe not a ton of film of Geno Smith in this Seattle offense. Only a small sample size coming in after Russell Wilson hurt his thumb. So I think that all plays factor. Obviously, Steelers at home, Heinz Field, one of the best home field advantages, one of the best fan bases in not just the NFL, but in sports. Pittsburgh Steelers fans are great. And so Steelers are favored -5. They're not going to cover. I'm here to tell you they are not going to cover, but I've got them winning the game 26-24. I feel like these are two evenly matched teams because it's funny. Something's going to have to give. The Steelers offense, in large part due to the quarterback position, is not very good. The Seattle defense is not very good. But you go the other end, Seattle's offense is okay. I mean, we're going to see what it looks like without Russell Wilson for the first time in nearly a decade. And the Steelers defense is good. They got playmakers such as TJ Watt, Minkah Fitzpatrick, but Seattle also has some good offensive players, DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. We'll see if he'll play. So that's my prediction. Steelers win 26-24. Those are my Sunday NFL predictions. We got 12 games rather than the usual 14. There's going to be some bye weeks over the next month or so, but it's going to be a fun week 6. I mean, there's some interesting lines. I think the Monday night game is fascinating. You got the Bills and the Titans. And so, look, I think it's going to be fun. And so with that, that's all the time we have for tonight's show. Appreciate everybody for stopping by. Red Sox play the Astros tonight. Game 1 of the ALCS. Let's go Red Sox. We're going to win this thing in 6 games and advance the Fall Classic. I feel great about it. Speaking it into existence. So have a great weekend, everybody. Enjoy the games. Enjoy some college football, by the way. Got 6-0 Kentucky versus 6-0 Georgia. I got Georgia, but it's going to be interesting. Have a great weekend. God bless you all.